Hi, thank you for joining me today. And today I'm very excited to be using the new Rainbow Avenue collection from Celes Gonzalo for American Crafts. Celes is from Argentina and she lives next to the Andes Mountains, and the colours and things that she sees there can be seen in her collection. I'm really excited to have this one in the shop at Hey Little Magpie. So I'm documenting some photos from an Easter piñata that Mum put up for the kids back in 2014. And I've chosen this gorgeous pale blue spotty paper as the background paper, and I've printed out 3 photos. I printed them all in 3x4, but the one of Mum that I'm putting in the bottom left hand corner I've actually trimmed down to be a 3x3 photo. So I'm just matting the photo of Mum and the one of James in white and then black, and then the one of Amelia I shall just matte in white, just to give a little bit of variation between the 2 photos that I'm having in the top right hand corner. Now I apologise in advance, this is quite a long video. It's just over 21 minutes I think in total, because I do an awful lot to this one. I really fancied having a good old play with all my bits and pieces. So as well as using Celes' new collection, I've also pulled out my distress oxides and stamps and dies and really had some good fun here. So you can see one of the dies that I'm just pulling out there now. It's the film reel die at Hey Little Magpie, and the View Master reel, and that's the film strip die also from Hey Little Magpie. And I've just cut both of those out before I started filming, out of 2 of the papers in the collection, using my Big Shot. And now I'm just trimming down a piece of the heart, black and white heart paper, which I'm going to use as a tag underneath the 2 photos, and I'm also going to punch a tab out of it in the future. This is another one. I thought this was really nice because of the confetti. I thought it would work nicely with a piñata. So again, creating another tag to go underneath my photos there. And then I'm using the reverse to matte my photo with. So first of all I decided, as I say, to add a white matte to this photo, and then I'm going to back it with that check, I suppose, isn't it? It's like a lilac pink. It's beautiful. So just getting this photo straight. It kept slipping because I'd used some wet glue if I get there in the end. So as I say, just matting this on white, and then I'm going to add this piece behind it and start layering. So I just distress the edges of this and get that stuck to the right hand side of the photo, and then I'm going to flip the paper over that's left and stick that to the left hand side of the photo to create a nice mat there. So once again I'm just going to distress all the edges and then get that stuck down. Now it is a little bit big, so you'll see I stick it down and then decide, because it's going to the right hand side of the other photo, I don't need as much at the top, so I do trim that off and just distress that edge again, and I'm much happier with that. Can you see it's just too high compared to the other photo? So I'm just going to trim that off shortly and just having a mess around deciding which way to layer them. And then I just narrow that border on the left hand side by moving the photo over a little bit more, and then in a second I will trim that off. There we go. So again, distressing the edge just to get that nice distressed look on those layers. So coming back to a different confetti paper, and I'm going to create another tag to go above the 2 photos. And this is a really great way to get some pattern papers into your layouts without using too much of them. Just creating nice tags to go around. So I'm using a small piece at the bottom there, and that's got those gorgeous cameras on, and then a larger piece at the top with the confetti. And I've not made the tags full size because they're going to be tucked behind the photos. I knew that's where they were going, so wide enough to be the size that I want, but they don't need to be too deep. And then another little tag in the bottom left hand cluster. So now I'm coming in with my crocodile just to create the holes. I love this crocodile because it's got 2 different sizes. There is a new improved version that I know my friend Jackie's got, and it's brilliant because it's got about 5 different holes on it. It is a bit of an investment. It's a We Are Memory Keepers tool, but it's really well made and great for creating tag holes of varying sizes. So well worth a look if you're in the market for a new single hole punch. So again, just trimming down those corners to make the tag size, and then punching the holes in. I must apologise for the weather. We've got a bit of a storm coming through here in the UK, so if you can hear it's a bit blustery outside, that's why. So just continuing to trim those corners off. I just fold the piece of paper over, as you saw, so that I get them the same size on each side. I don't put a crease in the middle, but just fold them over enough so that I can cut them together. So now I'm going to go in with my wet glue and just get all these pieces glued down to the photos, but not to the base page, because like I say, I want to do some stamping and inking on the base page. So just getting this glued together as a mat so that I can keep lifting it off and bringing it back in to see how my mixed media goes behind it. So it's a little bit of faffing, but I do get there eventually. I didn't want to get any glue on the background, so I'm just being a bit careful and making sure that things are straight as well, because I'm notorious for making things wonky. Almost there now. Just checking that everything's glued down. I know I haven't done this piece, so getting that stuck behind. Just checking that I'm happy. I wanted it on top of that tag, so I was just lifting that again to get that on top. And as I move things, I noticed that there wasn't enough glue underneath that right hand photo, so just getting that situated. And then I'll do exactly the same with this stack at the bottom. This is much easier because there are just 3 bits to it at the moment. So getting that tag stuck down, and then this film strip piece, and then I can move that to one side. And I'm pulling out Distress Oxide inks in Bundled Sage. I've used Spun Sugar, Tattered Rose, Antique Linen, Iced Spruce and Lost Shadow. I really went for it today. So first of all, coming in with this Tim Holtz for Stampers Anonymous stamp set. I love this because it creates a mixed media background, like paintbrush pieces, without having to get the paper wet. So great for that. I've used it in the past with wet mediums, but never with inks. So it's really nice to get to use this with inks. And these colours just provide a really subtle background. Again, once I finish building and layering, most of it gets covered, but it does peek out, and it just creates a bit of interest on that otherwise quite plain paper that I'm using as my base. And you can see I'm challenging myself to use the pattern papers as my base. This collection has 24 papers in. They're absolutely beautiful, but that's quite a feat to use up 24 papers the way I normally scrap, so I'm trying to use some as base layers as well. I have treated myself to all the collection, well, all of the papers. I've got the foam thickers, the alphabet thickers, the little felt bows, the paper clips, tiny puffy stickers, and one of the ephemera packs. So I'm very happy with what I've got from this, and I shall certainly enjoy exploring it a bit more. So coming in with my second colour now, I think this is the duck egg blue, the speckled egg. And just, I keep bringing that piece back in, the photo mat, just so that I can see, because I just want these to peep out behind the photos. And as I say, I do actually continue to build that photo mat, so most of this gets covered. And then I'm going to focus on the bottom as well, that photo of Mum. It was so funny, she was showing the kids how to use the piñata. So just inking up and keep stamping. It took me quite a while to do all of this, but it was well worth it. Like I say, it does add a nice feature to the background. So now coming in with Ice Spruce, and this is much more vibrant. It does really bring the colour in to the background. It's showing quite well on the camera actually, but when I was stamping these, they were very, very subtle, the colours. You could barely see them. So look at how vibrant that is compared to the other ones. But I do like it, and I do tone it down a little bit at the end. I just bring in some water, you'll see that. But I'm just trying not to add too much, but I do want to bring it in around the page. Now I've started with it, I don't want to just have it in one place. Didn't stamp properly that time, so I'm just coming back in with it there. And bringing it to the left-hand side, and then I think I bring some down to the bottom as well. A little bit there, and then a little bit at the top as well. And you can see it's really starting to build up nicely now, and the colours are showing, which is good. So now coming in with Spun Sugar, and I brought in an empty plastic tape reel insert, and I'm just going to stamp some circles all around my page. I love using circular elements on my pages, so I do keep hold of anything that I've finished up that I know I can use for stamping with. And then this was a cardboard roll. I think this had string on it originally, so just using that as well. It was a slightly different size, and then I just turned it over to use the other end with this antique linen. So just adding some more circles there, and then I'm going to come in with a much smaller circle. And oh yes, the pen lid. So literally look at anything that you've got that's circular and it will work. I've used the lids of Shimmers paints before and all sorts, but this pen lid is really nice because it creates lovely little circles all round. So again with the scattered straw, no, antique linen, just going around with that circle. And then I'm bringing in my Ellie Studio Home Sewn Stitches stamp. I just wanted some lines going down the page, so I chose this fairly solid, like it's a line with dots on it. And again, just coming in with some really subtle colours. So first of all, Lost Shadow, which is really subtle, but it does show up on the darker colours, so it works nicely with that iced spruce. So just again stamping it down the page and across the page as well. And I'm just going to go in with all the colours really. So I Lost Shadow first of all, and then this tattered, what's it called, Tattered Rose is the next one. I'm focusing in on the right hand side really to go below the main photos, but I do bring some into that left hand side corner as well. So as I say, it did take a little bit of time, but I'm really happy with the finished results. It's a very subtle background, but it just adds something to that otherwise very plain paper. So now coming in with that antique linen. And when I do this, I decide that I want to bring the antique linen in with the original Tim Holtz stamp, so I do come back in with that as well in a second. So I'm now going horizontally with some lines too. And bringing them over to that left-hand cluster. And here I am with that Tim Holtz stamp, like I say, just bringing a little bit of this antique linen around the page as well. And it really brightens things up because it's a much warmer colour than the other cool tones that I've used to date. So here I am, I'm just going to lift up some of the ink. So the way to do that is just add some splatters of water and then sop them up with some paper towel. And it just removes patches of the ink, creates a really interesting texture on the page, and just softens those edges really, because some of it really was quite dark and I was worried it was going to detract from the photos. So much happier with that now, just checking that everything's dry, bringing a bit of water in at the bottom, and I decided to just paint it on there rather than doing dots, just to lift a bit of that colour up. And there we go. So there's the body of the layout done, but there's still a lot more to be done. So I'm just going to glue these stacks down now that I know that I'm happy with the way that they're looking. So just plenty of wet glue on the background and stick it down. And then these are the 6x12 stickers. That was another thing that I had from the collection. And I found this sticker that says memories, and I thought that worked really nicely underneath those photos. So I just added that, and just looking for a little word phrase to add to the cluster with mum in, and I found one that says good times, so I'm just going to tuck that down the left hand side of the photo there. Now going into the ephemera pack, and I found one that says love you. It's just a banner with love you written on it. And then this paper is amazing. I can see me cutting all of these apart and using them as labels on all my layouts. So I just found this lovely grey one, and it says, what does it say? Love this moment. So I'm just going to tuck that underneath that bottom photo. And then coming in with this beautiful heart paper, I wanted to add some more layers to that left hand side, but then I remembered I wanted to add a tab. I pulled my tab punch out ready. So just punching a tab out of that paper, and then I shall add some more layers. So starting with this gorgeous lilac paper that I'd used underneath the photo of Amelia, so bringing that across to the left as well. Just cutting a thin strip, using the lines on the page to help me cut it straight, and that's going to tuck under there. I'm just using my fingernails to roughly distress the edges. I then get that stuck down, and then I'll add another layer next to it of the reverse pattern, which is the lovely confetti dot that I've used previously. So just tearing a little bit off and tucking that, again distressing the edges, and then tucking that next to the lilac one. There we go. So then I can bring that tab back in and stick that onto the photo. And I did decide to keep it whole. Quite often I'll just punch half, but I decided that having the whole piece sometimes adds a little bit more dimension to the page, so I did that this time. And I will eventually add the date on there. So just gluing this banner down that I pulled out previously. And then I find this, what is it? It's like an Instax frame, and I decide that will work really nicely in that top left-hand corner. So I'm just cutting the bit off that would normally go behind the photo and gluing this piece down. And then the other bit that I cut off, I'll add to the bottom right-hand side of the page, you'll see shortly. So just gluing this down. And I really like how that extends that line, and then you can see just bringing that other piece down to the bottom. There we go. And then I noticed that wasn't stuck down very well, so just adding a bit there. This little yellow butterfly is from the ephemera pack, so I'm just adding that to the viewfinder die. And then a little suede smiley face from Hey Little Magpie, and I think that works nicely at the bottom of that photo with Mum. And then one of our hearts, I'm just adding that as well. I really like bringing that grey in, it suits these papers very well. So I find on the foam stickers this lilac piece that just says love, and I really like that. So adding that, and then at the bottom just adding a little button into those circular elements, and then up here a little flower just to finish off that cluster. Well, I thought I'd finished, but I'm way from finishing. So now bringing in some twine in that lilac colour again, and just threading it through that first tag, and then I twist it round and round. I won't make you watch that. Round and round this frame. It just adds some interest at the top there, and then leave it to trail down the side of the photo. There we go. And then some more at the bottom. So going through that first left-hand tag and then up through the second one, and I just tie that off on that second one. And then adding another piece to that third tag, the heart one, after that. And I shall tie that in a bow, and then I'll go back to that second tag and tie that in a bow as well. I decide that that's the best way to finish it off. There we go, and that just sort of neatens up the edges a bit. Just trimming off those long ends. Still fiddling with this piece, deciding what to do. And then I'm going to come in with my title, and I'm just going to use the beautiful thickers in this collection to spell pinata. And when I do that, I decide that I want to add the word Easter in front of it because there's a nice space there. So I pull out some really old Adorn It alphabet stickers, little tiny tile stickers, and just spell out Easter and overlap these. And that works really nicely, but it does give me a gap that I want to fill to the right of it as you're looking at it now, above that grey heart. So I'm just looking for something to fill that gap, and I find this lovely foam heart in that beautiful teal blue colour. And then in the puffy stickers I find a little grey flower which I add, and then while I'm at them I find a little butterfly I add to the top left hand corner, and a pink flower, and then a gorgeous bird that I just sit on next to that photo of Mum. That's when I noticed that there was another tag in that bottom left hand cluster that I'd omitted to tend to, so I'm just adding some more of that lilac twine. This is just the wax twine that we sell at Hey Little Magpie. It works really nicely for tying through tags. And then filling in these gaps, so above that word Easter I felt there was another gap, so I'm bringing in one of the JD3DPrint arrows And then I spotted in my little pot of wood pieces these sunglasses, and because James is blindfolded, I thought they would work really nicely on that heart, so I love the addition of those there. And then a couple of the fabric flowers that we sell, a little blue one here and then a navy blue one at the bottom. Just fussing with those sunglasses because the padded heart is higher than the photo. It's just taking a little while to settle. And then one of these tweed buttons, I love these, just there underneath that little heart tag. The gorgeous felt bows that are in the collection. I'm adding a pink one underneath the photo of James there. There was just a nice spot to add it there. And then a tab of ribbon on the right hand side of that photo. I just spotted my pink gingham ribbon, so I thought that would work nicely. And of course I have to fill the gap in now between that and the film reel, so just cutting another phrase from this sheet. As I say, I think I'm going to use all these as phrase pieces. They're brilliant, and this just says creating memories, and it's in that gorgeous lilac grey, so it works really nicely there. So you can see how much I've built out this photo mat since I started. So there's that tucked in nicely there. And then I realised I hadn't added the date, so I'm just going to bring in my roller date stamp it onto some white cardstock, and I think about adding it elsewhere, but it does settle on that tab that I've put on the left hand side of the photo of James. It's just the obvious place for it to go. So like I say, I just play about putting it down here, but decide that I want to put it up there. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry it's such a long video, but I really wanted to leave everything in so you could see how this built and grew. Other than that, I shall see you again on Tuesday. Thanks again. Bye.